me if you can relate. The older I get, the more I'm being told that I need to invest in high quality, timeless pieces because apparently wearing fast fashion in my mid-30s triggers some sort of an age alarm. It all sounds very logical. I mean, wearing cheap clothes does kind of suck. You wear them a couple times, throw them into the wash, and you're kind of done with them. Good luck wearing that shapeless thing and trying to stay stylish. And I will admit that once you actually start wearing higher quality stuff, it is really hard to downgrade from that. So you've already kind of crossed that bridge of no return. So naturally, over time, your taste grows, but your bank account doesn't at the same pace. And before you know it, what you're browsing through are things like jackets priced at $1,200, and it feels like spending $300+ on a pair of pants is completely normal. Because apparently, aging gracefully while maintaining style is expensive. But here's a controversy. Half the stuff that's labeled high quality these days are actually just marketing traps built on scarcity, FOMO, and the desire for a status upgrade. And when the increase in the level of quality doesn't necessarily match the steep increase in pricing, I can't help but feel like these brands are literally asking for a donation from me just for a little bit of an ego boost. So today I want to talk about how to handle this situation of our growing taste that is outpacing the growth of our bank accounts and how we can maintain our style throughout this whole mess and still feel, age appropriate without falling for the hype of luxury marketing. Now that that's out of the way and we know what we're talking about, hi. How's it going? It's Jen here. Welcome back to our little corner here on YouTube. Or if you're brand new to the channel, welcome. Here we talk about anything pretty much that's related to refining our style. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. So what inspired me to create a video on this topic was as I was watching Zoe Unlimited's video on the marketing strategy of the luxury grocery store Erewhon, I've noticed that a lot of the marketing manipulation tactics that were discussed in that video can apply to so many of the fashion brands that we know and love. And it got me wondering whether normalizing higher price tags truly reflects my elevated taste level, or if it's just the influence of marketing tactics and I'm just falling for that it's expensive because we said so trap. And if I'm being honest, the latter is probably the case more often than I'd like to admit to myself. I fall victim to these marketing tactics all the time, and if you can relate, then great, you found the right place. And if you can't relate, then congratulations, you are a better human being than I am. But of all seriousness, I'm not here to judge. Nor am I here for a pity party talking about how terrible these business practices are and how capitalism is ruining everything. No, what I want to talk about are realistic steps that we can take to help ourselves when we feel like we're too poor or broke for our own taste. And I think the first thing is probably the most obvious and basic, but it's also the most important and likely the most difficult and time-consuming thing to do, which is why I still want to talk about it. And that is recognizing that the manipulation exists. Brands often use higher price tags as a way to take advantage of our cognitive shortcut. So that's pretty much our brain's rule of thumb that assumes if it costs more, then it must be made of higher quality and with better materials. But in the end, cotton is cotton is cotton. I mean, yes, you can differentiate the quality of cotton by its thickness, but that's not something that you can tell by the label. It's something that you have to touch and feel for yourself to recognize. And I know there's a whole ethics and sustainability layer to this. Things obviously cost more to produce ethically and sustainably, but these are really difficult things to measure, especially when a lot of brands use these values just as psychological leverage rather than actual practices. And on top of the cognitive shortcut, what a lot of these brands take advantage of is the insecurity. In this case, specifically women's insecurity around aging. Because the mainstream media continues to make women ask themselves, do I look sophisticated enough, elegant enough, graceful enough? Am I looking cheap or frumpy or juvenile by wearing these clothes? And then these brands provide the supposed solution of, well, here's a $200 top to fix that problem. Now, I am not saying that all brands with higher price items are bad, period. Obviously, things are not as black and white as that. But as a consumer, I just don't always have the time to do the extensive research myself, which is why the cognitive shortcut works so well. And I know this is sounding very cynical and probably quite negative, but I think the positive in all of this is that the fact that you're watching this video and you're potentially relating to it, and the fact that you're telling yourself, I'm too broke or poor for my own taste, that is you already realizing that material things don't truly bring happiness. And the reason why I say that is because you're not actioning on it. Like if you were just looking for a quick dopamine hit, then you would be actioning on your desire and you'd be swiping that credit card. Trust me, I've been there where I've spent the money that I do not have. But you're not doing that. And instead, you're wishing for and maybe even working towards more financial abundance for you to be able to actually afford the things that you like. So to me, that's already a step towards realizing that looking rich is going to keep you poor, and hopefully me talking about this will help you solidify the idea that what you're wishing for is not actually material, it's just an image, and that's exactly what these brands are selling. These days, when I get that sudden urge to splurge, I actually go on TikTok because I follow this content creator called Style Crusader, and she makes a lot of posts with the message saying that what you have is enough and you don't really need to buy all of these things that are trending right now because none of that stuff is actually going to make you happy. And it's just a nice reminder, not because I have a strong urge to follow a lot of trends these days, but it's just nice to hear that what I have is enough. Like it helps de-influence my brain and it helps relieve the pressure that I need to be chasing the next higher quality thing to make my style look more elevated. Another thing we can do, and this is probably something that's a little bit more of a specific action step than what I just talked about, and it's being especially careful with mid-range brands. So these are brands that are not like super high end and that are also not fast fashion. And the reason why I say that we should be especially careful with these brands is because oftentimes I find them to be just as bad as fast fashion brands. With super high-end brands, the level of expectation when it comes to quality is much higher for consumers because you're paying so much money. Like if you're paying for an $800 t-shirt, it better be of good quality. But I feel like mid-range brands can get away with a lot more when it comes to poor quality just by their branding strategy and marketing tactics. A really good example of this is Banana Republic. I'm not really sure what happened to this brand, but I've always known Banana Republic to be your solid, like low to mid-range brand where their quality is slightly better than brands like Old Navy or Zara or H&M and with reasonably higher prices. And something happened with their branding strategy over the last sometime in the last 5 years where they've jacked up the price points, but their quality hasn't really improved significantly. And this used to be a brand that I would sometimes shop at, but since this change, I've dropped them completely because to me, the price point with that same quality is just not worth it. Another potential example I have is the brand Reformation. And the reason why I say potential is because I haven't had much experience with this brand myself personally. I have one dress from them and it was purchased secondhand, so I didn't even pay full price for it. But I have heard some people call their stuff expensive garbage. Not my words. I don't know how true that is, so let me know if you disagree in the comments. Another potential brand I can think of is Jerf Avenue. And again, I say potential because I haven't bought anything from them personally. But the reason for that is because the images I see on their website, like their stuff doesn't look that different from other brands with cheaper price points. I was browsing through their website and found these gray trousers that are almost $200, and they honestly look exactly like a pair of trousers that I used to own from Princess Polly years ago, except Princess Polly sells them for half the price. And why I say that is because the material looks so thin and flimsy. Like there's already wrinkles on the model shot. Like these are supposed to be your absolute best photos. These are supposed to be the photos that sell your merchandise, and there's already wrinkles on them. So why would I take the risk? Especially when, because I live in Canada, the return cost is going to be $30 US. And I'm sorry if you like this brand. This is not a personal attack against you. It's just just by looking at what I'm seeing, the prices are not justifiable to me. Another example of a brand I can think of is COS, because they've sort of been a hit or a miss for me. I definitely like their heavier cotton things. I like their denim pieces, and I think their menswear looks and feels really nice based on what I made my husband try on. But when it comes to their trousers, I found the quality to be somewhat meh. Like, I like the fit and the design, but material-wise, not so much. But they are really well known as like your go-to higher quality minimal brand, right? So I don't know, is it just good marketing? Let me know what you guys think if you have more experience with the brand. A content creator named Jennifer Wang, both here on YouTube and on TikTok, she talks a lot about quality of garments when it comes to materials, their construction, and what exactly to look out for when you're shopping, etc. And I found that to be really helpful. It looks like she created her own label recently, and I haven't tried anything from there personally, but since her personal brand is so much about quality, I'm hoping that her label also holds up to that reputation. The next thing I think we can do is redefining what a good deal means to you. These days, I really try to shop secondhand much more, not only because of the price points, but also because, you get to try things on yourself. Like, I've really been trying to steer away from online shopping more. I want to be able to feel the material. I want to be able to see how things fit without dealing with the hassle of shipping and returns and all that. So last week, I actually went shopping to this secondhand store that I often visit, and I found this black slip dress from The Row. It was priced at like $450, so I'm sure it cost a lot more brand new. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I need to at least try this thing, because when am I ever gonna try anything from The Row anytime in the near future? I really wish I took some photos, and of course I forgot. But it didn't fit properly at all. Like, the straps were too long to the point where my nipples were about to pop out any second. And overall, silhouette wise, it was very clean. It felt luxurious, even though I don't think it was 100% silk. But it just felt a little bit basic, and I didn't think that the price was justifiable at all, even with a steep discount. But had I seen this same dress online on a 5'11", 120 pounds model, I probably would have thought that it's a great deal. So I've just been thinking about how trying things actually in person is so important, especially if the sale is final. My personal advice has been Facebook Marketplace. I feel like I can find really great deals in terms of like the percentage off you can get from the retail price, because a lot of people are just trying to get rid of their stuff and they want to get a little more money out of the transaction than through consignment. So the deals are really great, but you can't try them on, and obviously the sales are final, and I've made some mistakes before and I'm trying to learn from them. Here is an unpopular opinion, which is that dismissing fast fashion altogether might not always be the best choice. Because I actually think that fast fashion doesn't always equate to terrible, horrendous quality. A good example I have is the brand Oakenford, which is pretty much the only fast fashion brand that I shop at these days. And I actually find some of their stuff to be of decent quality. I just have to be really picky with what I choose to buy, and I've had some luck with them. My personal habit is that I am willing to sacrifice quality for a good fit, especially when it comes to things like seasonal wear, like the dress I talked about from Reformation. That is a mini dress, and it's probably made of synthetic material. It's not, the highest quality, I know that, but it's something that I'm gonna wear 2 months out of the entire year. So I'm okay if it's not made of like the best materials, I also tend to pay less attention to the quality of my bottoms. I think it's because like our eyes always move from top to bottom that I feel like I should be paying more attention to the quality of my outerwear and my tops and stuff like that. So the trousers that I talked about from COS, I really like the fit and the design, but material-wise, I knew it wasn't the best. It was going to be a seasonal wear anyway, so I decided to go with it. So for me, fit and design will always trump quality, but maybe that just means that I am not ready to grow up and mature. Or it might also be a sign that I need to be more picky and selective with my purchasing habits. So those were some of the things I thought we could either think about or take action towards to get out of the mindset of I'm too broke for style. And hopefully you found them realistic enough to implement into your day-to-day. The key thing to remember is that a lot of it has to do with marketing gimmicks, and having awareness is our own power. We can age stylishly, be chic, and be smart and frugal with our money all at once. It's possible with more conscious effort. Speaking of frugal, a TikTok trend I've seen emerging these days is the phrase frugal chic. And if you haven't heard of this buzzword, I think it's definitely worth checking out. Now, before you go, make sure to leave me a comment about your own broke but stylish adventures. I'd love to read about them. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in my next one. Until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.